good evening, good night, good morning to you, wherever you are live joining us from around the world. This is Uplift, a conversation where you're here to set your heart on fire. And we have some pretty amazing people. First, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Sarah Wade. I am in Perth, Western Australia, the most isolated city in the world. Love to hear where you guys are tuning in from. We have my co-host with me today, Neil Thrussell, and Haran Singhaam, who's joining us from amazing Melbourne. But first, I'm going to tell me a little bit about myself. So this last week, I've been having an amazing time doing some personal development. That means so much to me. And I've enjoyed some time with some amazing people. Now, what I did was I included my love, art, into my learning. And I'd love to hear how you include your learning style with what you do. And now I'd love to introduce you to Neil Thrussell, who is in Calgary, in Canada.
Thank you for the wonderful intro, Sarah. And to answer your question, how I integrate personal development and my loves is I love to write. And funny thing, it was a beautiful segue, is tomorrow is the 9th anniversary of the release of my first book. And it went on to become an Amazon bestseller. And it was only kicked out by a smut book, 50 Shades of Grey. What a week to launch a book. It's like my marketing budget didn't stand a chance.
Who knew, hey? Who knew?
Yeah. And let's go on. I'm just excited to share. I'm going to say it wrong. I'm so ingrained that I've got it. Haran Singhaam. Welcome, 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 welcome to the Uplift. Tell us, please tell us a little bit about you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah and Neil. My name is Haran Singhaam, and I'm from Melbourne, Australia. And I'm a mindset coach as well. And after listening to you, actually, Neil, I also understand how heart set is also important as well. I've worked with people, but I never mentioned it like that. But you really articulated it really well in a way that you're explaining it. So I am a coach working with people and help them to find their purpose and find fulfillment in their life. That's me.
Fantastic.
Wonderful. So well, the easiest question is to get people to know you. And how did you start on your journey? Did you wake up one morning and just go, I want something different out of life? Or what was it? Was a lightning bolt, a traffic accident? No. What started you on your journey?
Well, what started for me is that, I'm sure, how many of you have really experienced horrible things in your life? Probably most of you can relate to things happening in our life where it could be traumatic, abusive, or something that you have gone through thinking that, what the hell is happening for me, and why I'm really struggling and suffering with what's happening in my life. So I grew up in Sri Lanka. I was born and brought up in Sri Lanka. I grew up in a war zone. So pretty much running away from bombing and shelling, pretty much, sometimes on a daily basis as well, and getting internally displaced. And then when I was about, just fast forwarding all that, my family actually valued education. So I was so focused on my studies and education. And at the same time, I personally went through a lot of abuse and a lot of trauma in my life growing up there, and also witnessing a lot of people die in front of me as well because of the war. And escaping from there and then coming to Australia as a refugee. And then after coming here, I actually went through depression, and I became suicidal as well. And then I was cutting myself, burning myself, and doing all these things. And the education was kind of, very important to me at that time. So I was actually studying business at that time, and then getting into university. And around that time, I was so miserable with my life and thinking that I don't want to live here anymore. I want to kill myself. And I think around that time, I was seeing psychologists, counselors, and my doctors, but nothing really helped me. And then one of my friend actually told me about this place where she actually invited to go there to do meditation. So I went there, and then I saw this life coach putting her flyers there at that particular place. And then I was so interested and curious about what she does, because compared to what the psychologists and counselors were doing, what she mentioned on her flyers were totally different. So I was like, wow, well, let's give it a go with this as well. So I gave her a call because I was so desperate for help. I gave her a call, and then after a few sessions, I felt like everything dissolved from my system, where I stopped self-harming, I stopped feeling depressed, I stopped feeling suicidal. And then I was like blown away with the results that I had at that time. And then I knew at that moment that what I want to do with my life is to help people, where I don't want to sit in front of the computer. Around that time, I was actually working as an assistant accountant. Um, so I realized that's not what I want to do. I want to become a coach. But also in 2004, just before tsunami, it's during the peace talk period in Sri Lanka. I went to Sri Lanka, and I was also I always use this as a metaphor as well in the past. I know if you are part of Tony K's coaching and all that, know that he uses that frogs metaphor. So I use this as well, where when I was growing up in Sri Lanka, I thought that is normal. I thought living in that war zone, running away from your own house and living like that is normal. But then coming to Australia, and then when I went back to that same environment, I just want to bounce out. I want to jump out from that environment. So I realized that, shit, I've been taking life for granted, and I allowed myself to be depressed and suicidal and thinking that, this is how life is. And then witnessing everything again, I kind of woke up at that moment, and that became my life purpose in a way. I've seen how war widows were living, and how the orphan kids were living, and how people who have lost their limbs and, their life living in a way. So at that particular moment, I decided that this is my life purpose. This is what I want to do. I want to make sure that these war widows are actually creating a business, or they are not dependent on someone else. They can create their own. They can look after themselves, and also these orphan kids. It's still in my head. Like I remember I was there, and one of my friend was there as well. She is Sri Lankan, but she can't speak the local language. So she wanted to talk to this little kid, and this little child looked like about 6 years old. And then when we started talking, this child told us she's actually in year 6, and it really hit me. And like, this child was so malnourished because of the war situations and whatever was happening there. They haven't been fed properly. They don't have access to good food and things like that. So that hit me as well. So at that moment, I realized I want to really help. I want to, make myself into a particular state where I can actually help people to make sure that they can look after themselves and provide education and also the skills that they need to become independent in a way, creating business or whatever. So after that, coming back to Australia, I started focusing more on educating myself to do that. So I started studying social science. So that's more specializing in counseling. So studied counseling and then did a graduate certificate as well in social science, and then started working as a counselor. And I did so many other things as well. And then around that time, I was like going through so many things as well, self-discovery. So I was going through a lot of things in my head, like who am I? What do I want to do? And things like that. And then that led me into staying in India, and I wanted to become a monk around that time. I thought that's the best way I can actually help these people. But then later on, a few years later, I realized that I wasn't really ready to becoming a monk. But I also want to, with the skills that I have, I want to actually be with people, and I want to help people doing coaching, counseling, or doing whatever, and also generate money. And then with that, I want to be able to start different projects and help people as well. So after coming back from India, I think even before that, I have done so many different trainings in life coaching. Like I've done trainers in neuro-linguistic programming about 10, 12 years ago. And then I've done hypnosis, timeline therapy 12 years ago. And then not doing all that, and then coming back and restarting all that. And then I went through Tony Robbins, all the trainings as well. And then Joe Dispenza, and Dean Graziosi, and so many different people. So I've done so many different trainings, and on top of that, I also have a counseling qualification as well. So I feel like I'm ready to now face the world and help people and help anyone who is approaching me for help. I help them to become the best version of themselves and help them find fulfillment in their life. So that became my life purpose, and that's my life mission as well. So for this year, my mission is to help 500 people to experience that life purpose, and also help them to become the best version of themselves this year. So that's my purpose, mission
Beautiful.
for this year. And I think I have done that at least with 100 people at least this year so far.
Yes.
Yeah, that's excellent, because we're at the first quarter, so it's like, okay, we're just past the
On
first
target.
quarter. Yeah, it's wonderful. So what I get in all of this is you've been through hell, and you used your training and your own personal fortitude to lift yourself out and up, and now you're saying, hey, there's more to life, and I want to share my gifts and talents with the world. That's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly. It's like, when we all have passion and we want to do so much, but if we don't really train ourselves, if we don't have that skill set to really do what we want to do, then we won't be able to do a good job. So it's very important for me to really invest in my own growth. That's why even like now I'm part of another mastermind. That's how I know you guys as well. So I'm actually going through a lot of different trainings again. So some of the things that I'm actually refreshing myself, and also adding more things into my toolbox as well as I go along.
That toolbox is so important. I know I have a variety of toolboxes. In art therapy, we physically made a toolbox. Like we had a shoebox and we put all our stuff inside our toolbox. And I've since added, for my own personal development, into like a physical toolbox. It's like a reminder for me because I'm a visual person. I'm curious, Neil, you've got your own way, as an author. How do you put things in your toolbox? Like, what do you use as a toolbox also?
Stories, masters stories. It's we all have a story, and it's learning not to be afraid of sharing your story, or being comfortable in the uncomfortable and uncovering your own truth. And I'm a little bit crazy or sadistic because I'm willing to personally sit in the storm to find out who the real Neil is, and well, I shouldn't say not many, there's thousands of coaches and healers and helpers that have done similar journeys. But Haran, when you're going back, if you could redo something from your past that you think would catapult you even faster to where you are now, what's one of the things that if you could revisit that you would bring forth sooner or bigger or better that you would think that could help our viewers and our listeners?
I think, Neil, for me, all the experiences that I have gone through in my life brought me where I am today. So I wouldn't really change anything. But if I have to come up with something, then I would say probably rather than sitting on the fence and staying in my comfort zone, I would have probably pushed myself to really do something about it. Because when I was depressed, I was sitting on the fence. I want help, but at the same time, I want to kind of hold on to that as well. It became kind of a comfort zone for me where I wasn't growing, I wasn't changing, I was just getting stuck where I was, but I was kind of wishing things will change. But the thing is that unless you reach out to someone really who can really help you, then nothing's going to change, right? But at that particular time in my life, I was actually telling myself, I can't afford to do this or I can't do this. But then if I don't do it, then how much am I losing? Is it, I can't afford to not to live a happy life. So that's what really pushed me. And then, when I hired this coach, that was like so many years ago, it was expensive for me. But I was so desperate. I was like, no, I just have to do it. And then I just did it. And I'm glad I have done it. So that's what I would say. Like, if I can go back and change something, then I would have probably have hired a coach or have done all the trainings earlier. So I don't have to suffer and waste all this time.
I loved your statement is that I can't afford I'm trying to paraphrase, I can't afford to suffer anymore. It's life. Yeah. And I added that I'm adding in life's too short to stay too long in our comfort zone. It's part of our healing journey, but we need to move beyond that. And I love that you recognize that that's one of a foundational step for you. I've done all the talking. I think I need to let Sarah talk now.
I was just thinking that, a lot of people can feel comfortable in that uncomfortable zone that you guys have just spoken about, being in that boiling water, you just get used to it and it becomes your new normal, and doing something different and getting out of that pot. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. And you want to get out. And guys, if you can relate, let us know, because you want to get out, you want the help, and at the same time, you have this problem within, something's going on, So look, I love that you said that you wouldn't change anything, because I feel the same. I've been asked that question over the years too. And at first I said, I'd love to change this and that and the other. But the thing is, all those experiences, they made me the woman I am today. And I am so, I'm going to swear, fucking proud of the woman I am today. I'm so certain of myself and the people that I can help. And most importantly, I'm so certain that my favorite client, who happens to be 4, is watching everything I do.
Yeah.
And she's putting it out to the world and being the best little lady she can be. And really little waves like that, for me at least, are what's most important. How about you guys?
Yeah, I think it's also, people make that into a comfort zone. And also for a lot of people, they are scared as well, subconsciously, in a way that they think that if I make changes, who will I be? Like, what sort of personality is this going to, like, they know this particular personality that is depressed or miserable or, going through all these things. If I change that, who do I become? So they're scared of the unknown as well. So that also stop people as well, because certainty. That's one of the need as well, according to Tony Robbins. So when you don't have certainty in life, you don't want to put a step forward. So a lot of people just stay there in their comfort zone because they're scared of the unknown as well. They're worried that, oh, if I step into that, what's going to happen? Am I losing my personality? Am I losing the person or that I already know all these years? So that's another fear that people get caught up into, and they know that, as a child, we carry this, doll. We carry this doll thinking that's part of us. That's without that, I can't go to sleep, I can't eat, I can't do anything. And then when we grow older, we don't even worry about our doll. We don't even know what we used to call them, because we know we have to let go of certain things in order for us to grow. And when we grow out of that, we know that that doesn't serve us. It was just silly. How many of us actually laugh about the things that we have done? Like, I remember, if I look back and think about all the things that I used to think about myself and my depression and all other things, I laugh at myself. It's not saying, yes, they taught me a lot of things, and at the same time, I laugh at myself because that's no longer a problem. There's no emotional, what's the word? Like, there's no emotional charge any longer. Yeah. So it's like there are tools and techniques available. The thing is that a lot of people get caught up with the traditional way of counseling and all that, and then they think they have to go for years and years of therapy, and they get caught up in it. So yeah,
not the case, is it? Yeah.
There is a quote that I think I know the quote is from Winnie the Pooh, that life is far too serious to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
But somebody else said it. And yeah, I appreciate, I honor and recognize that I sometimes get caught in my comfort zone because the devil inside me that I know is far more comfortable than that devil that's way out there that I don't know. So I can really relate. We have a viewer, Tristan, that's just, she's loving what has been, when you were sharing just a few seconds ago, that Kirsten said that it's, because you can't read the screen, it says it was so inspiring. So thank you, Haran.
Thank you.
I also feel like, who am I without my pain or my hurt or my current seems to be something that stops people from getting out of that boiling pot. Yeah. What have you noticed about that, Haran?
Yeah, who am I is always evolving. So I was asked the same question like 2 or 3 weeks ago by another person who was interviewing me as well. Who is Haran? So I said, like, I don't want to put myself in a box, because I know that I'm always learning, growing, and evolving. Like, every situations, every life experiences are actually shaping me. And I'm not the same person that I was yesterday. I'm not the same person that I was 10 years ago. I wasn't the same person 20 years ago. But yet people get caught up in this idea that, oh, you are changed. Well, we all changed, right? And so all I can say is I can't define myself, because if I define myself, that means I'm constant. I'm not constant, where I'm always changing. I'm learning, I'm growing. And all I know is that I am love. And all I know is that I want to help people. All I know is that I want to empower people to understand that they don't have to live in their misery, because a lot of people have a strong hold of their misery and thinking that that's life. It's not. I know some people follow Buddha. Buddha said that, life is a misery. And I say, yeah, life is a misery. And at the same time, there's also joy, happiness, bliss, love, and all sorts of good things out there as well. But if you just focus on misery, that's all you're going to see.
Mm. I was going to say it's reminded me. I could see you nodding, Nell. I thought you were going to go. How the joys of doing podcasts from opposite ends of the earth. That's quite interesting. Anyway, what I was going to say is it's reminding me of that. I don't know where I got this saying from. Evolve so hard that people have to get to know you again.
Yeah.
And how beautiful is that? Just keep that, that love within, and that desire to move and go with the flow in the best of ways, not in a complacent ways. It just makes such a difference in our lives. Wouldn't you say, Neil?
Absolutely. And I was just thinking that as we change and evolve, it can actually be a bittersweet evolution, because people, our friends and our family, like the old version of who we are or were. They sometimes, our family and friends, can resist the person we're trying to evolve to. And the best people, sometimes we lose friends and family because they're not supporting our evolution. Have you noticed this as well, Haran, in your personal evolution, that have you noticed that you've had to bring your family and friends with you on that journey?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Neil, because just after answering the previous question, I was actually thinking about that, and you are asking me that question. Because the thing is that a lot of people, even though they are evolving as well, they're changing as well, a lot of people don't acknowledge that. And because we are always growing if we look at ourselves, we are losing ourselves and everything's changing. And Dr. Joe Dispenza here, he's a neuroscientist, he would say we don't have the same brain that we had 10 years ago. Everything's changing and evolving. So if we think we are the same person, that's just a hallucination, because it's not true. Everything is changing. So when I was doing all these things, like for example, when I was getting into that self-inquiry on a deeper level, I quit my highly paid accounting role, where I was working as an assistant accountant, and it was very safe. And I know that I'm going to get money coming in and all those things. And then when I quit that, a lot of my friends and my family told me, "Oh, are you an idiot? Why the hell you want to spend so many years studying for it, and then you got a really good job, and that's paying you well and all good, and why you want to quit all of a sudden?" And I'm like, I'm not happy there. And it didn't make sense to them. For them, they were looking at the money side of it. And then my brother was telling me, "Oh, you are an idiot." And then my parents were telling me, "What the hell are you going to do if you quit your job?" And then for me, I quit that job, and then I started studying actually aged care and disabled care and all those things. And because I want to get into counseling, right? So I kind of wanted to do psychology, but then they said because of the war situation and all that, I couldn't really finish my year 12 in Sri Lanka. So when I came here, I went to TAFE. So TAFE is like like college in Australia. So I did business. So I couldn't get into psychology. So I was just thinking about what other ways I can get into counseling or do any of these things. And then finally I did aged care, and then I was working in aged care. That was paying me like almost half of what I was earning as an assistant accountant, but I was happy. So I was sharing that with my friends and family. They couldn't understand. They thought I'm just going cuckoo in a way. So, and then after that, even me investing in personal development, doing all these courses, and all those things didn't make sense to them. And even last year, I invested about more than probably 30 to 35,000 American dollars in personal development, because it's important to me. If I want to be the best coach, I want to invest in adding more and learning more and doing the things that I need to do. And the thing is that I see that I'm the happiest person in the world. And when I'm seeing my friends, they always have complaints. They're always miserable, and they don't want to change what's going on for them. So for me, looking at them, I love them, but at the same time, I allow them to be where they are, because I can't force someone to change. I can show them there are things you can change, you can embrace, so you don't have to feel miserable. But at the same time, when people say, my friends and family say, no, 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 I can't change, this is how it's going to be, I just respect them, because I can't force my opinion, but I try to be an example. So I know some of my friends started slowly changing and asking me for help as well now. That's a good sign when your friends and family, because they are the last to really see it. So they come to me as well now for advice. So that's a good sign in a way.
It's just reminded me of the saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. It's much more beneficial for the horse if you show it how to drink. Exactly. There's a lot of people who don't have that amazing person in their lives. You might get stuck in a group of people, and everybody is sort of in a down space. You're going to continue to stay down. You can break aside from those people and make amazing changes and flourish. I know I've personally done that many times over the years. And whilst it did feel like there was a void at first, I'm going to swear again, guys. I'm apologizing in advance for those of you who don't like swearing, but I swear, so get over it. Fuck, it was brilliant. Making those changes and changing my environment, changing the people I hung out with. Wow, what a difference that made. And that has added to my certainty of self. And I'm sure as I look around this screen and as I think about those that I've interacted with before, and I trust some of the people watching live or in replay can relate to that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like I can give you examples. Like one of my friend, he has really bad phobias where he finished his engineering degree, and then he was working, and then all of a sudden he started developing these phobias where he can't get into the lift, he can't climb up, he can't be around people with a lot of people in a room and things like that. And because of that, he couldn't find any jobs. He didn't want to go and work anywhere. And then I looked at him and said, hey, man, you're my friend. It really hurts me seeing you being like this. You only need to come and see me like one session. I can get rid of these phobias for you. And there are tools and techniques available. And I've told him like probably 6 years ago, to this date, he never approached me. Even like last December, just Christmas, we caught up for Christmas lunch. For a barbecue, and he couldn't actually climb up and play with his child. And I was asking him what's happening, and he was like, "Oh, I'm scared. I have a phobia. I can't climb up." And I'm like, I'm here if you want. Reach out to me. And he never did. And likewise, one of my other friends as well calling me early this morning, saying that he was going through some relationship stuff, and then he talked to me about this end of last year as well. And then I said, hey man, you don't have to suffer like that. Reach out to me, we can help, and I'm happy to do the coaching with you. And he doesn't want to do the coaching, he just wants to like carry on with this problem. So we respect and let them be, but at the same time show them there are other ways around. So that's the thing.
It's an interesting coaching as evolve, as people evolve as coaches. It's an interesting conundrum as that we have to learn, and we have to learn our boundaries, and we have to learn to respect other people hugely, which is a beautiful coaching lesson, because we want to help everyone, but I don't know about you, but I cannot help everyone, and I'm not the right coach. For me, it was a painful lesson, because I had some people that I really cared and loved deeply in my life, and I couldn't help them. How was this for you, Sarah? Did this come upon you? And Haran, how was this?
Well, I like like Haran, I've got people who are close to me who are currently going through some stuff, but they're too close to me. I won't work with them because they're too close. They've got their own preconceptions, and I don't want to destroy our relationship. I will happily refer people on, whether they choose to follow it up or not, that's on them. But my boundaries are such that you don't contact me in the middle of the night if you're a client. And friends know they can contact me in the middle of the night if it's like a dire emergency. I'll be there for them.
Yeah.
But I do have massive boundaries around who and when I do help my clients. And that's made a world of difference. Years ago, when I first started coaching, I was helping people with depression and anxiety, just like Haran is. And I was getting messages at, 2, 3 a.m. in the morning. Hey, Sarah, help me. I'm standing on top of a bridge. And I was in crisis mode. And that caused me to burn out. So that caused me to choose, do I want to burn out? Do I want to let this into my life? I've made these huge changes. Or do I just need to say, hey, call the police, call an ambulance, call a helpline, call somebody else, because I'm not your lady right now. And don't get me wrong, I didn't leave them high and dry, and I've had these beautiful messages back and forth saying thank you so much. But at the end of the day, I didn't save their lives, they did. They chose to be here and to do life, to either stay in that horrible boiling pot or to make these massive changes.
Yeah.
And you don't have to go through these major traumas to make changes. You don't wait that long, guys. Don't wait that long. It's painful. It's a lesson you'll never forget, but it's a painful one. And I think if you can see your friends in this situation, let them know by showing them that there are other ways. But I personally won't step in and deal with my friends or my family stuff, because that's just too close. Haran, how do you handle?
Yeah.
How do you hear that?
Yeah, I think there are. In coaching, we learn that if you're part of the problem, don't get involved in coaching, because they're not going to let go of the things and they're not going to cooperate. So that's another thing. And also one more thing as well, like as coaches, when you talk about coaches, probably more than 95% of the coaches don't make it as a coach, because it involves a lot of work. We have to do marketing, we have to do everything pretty much from the scratch. So if you really, because we become a coach because we are very empathetic people, we want to help people, we want to help everyone in a way. But the thing is that we also understand it really hurts me in a way when I see people suffering, and at the same time we can't help the whole world, we can't help everyone who's like this, right? They're like this. They approach you and they'll be like, "Oh, Haran, please help me. I'm really struggling." And then you talk about things and you're like, "Okay, let's do this." And then they're like, "Oh, I'm not ready now. I can't work with you." And then so what I'm saying is that I want to work with people who really want to work with me. And I don't want to work with people who's like, "Oh, I want to work with myself," with those kind of tonalities. They're not really feeling the pain enough. They probably need to sit down with that pain for another 10 years and then feel really miserable, and then they will get out of that comfort zone and then they'll reach out. But I'm saying that you don't have to go through that. But in using certain tools and techniques, if it's really deep-rooted stuff and then I am part of the problem, then I wouldn't work with people. But if I'm not part of the problem, and if I'm like, for example, if I wouldn't work with my brother, like we probably have a lot of stuff going on, right? So he wouldn't be honest with me, and I also may not be able to help him on a deeper level because we already have a long history, and I would probably refer him to someone else. And if it's one of my best friend, I wouldn't really coach him. I would help him, but I wouldn't coach him. I would probably refer him to someone else. But if it's some friend that, or acquaintance where I don't have a long history and I'm not part of the problem, then I don't mind seeing them, because I work with people like that in the past where people wanted to have that trust as well. This is very important. People will start sharing a lot of their personal stuff as well as a coach, even though with the tools and techniques, we don't need to hear everything. But sometimes people want to share things. So far, I actually kicked one client out, and because she was a person who was like, I want to work with this, but she didn't really want to work with me, where she wasn't really listening to me. She's a client, and she was calling me like past midnight and early morning, like 5:30 a.m. and things like that. And then even though I messaged her back and saying that, hey, don't do this, and let's make a time and let's work on it. And then when I make a time and make an appointment, last minute she will cancel it and she'll be like, I'm not in the mood. So with that kind of people, I will give them a couple of chances, and then after that I'll just kick them out and say, I can't work with you, I can't help you, because I have to respect my time, I have to respect my skills, I have to respect myself as well. If somebody else is not respecting me, then I don't have to put up with that. So that's my attitude in a way. With love, I told her, this is who you can see. Work with someone else. I'm not going to work with you any longer, after giving her a few options and opportunities.
Sweet, that's wonderful. So, Haran, as a coach that's trying to help people with their mindset and their heart set, and you found your purpose and your mission in the unfolding of your life in a work, what are some of the tools, or how can people find, if they don't know what it is that their purpose or the mission, how would you get them started on their journey? What kind of questions would you want them to ask themselves?
Yeah, I think it's going to take another hour to talk about it, I guess. But at the same time, if you are already struggling, don't lie to yourself that saying that I'm okay or I'll be okay. So, like for example, a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to someone. He wanted to get help from me. Then we started talking, and then he was telling me, I've been feeling fantastic, I'm good, and all that. And then he just dropped it like this as well. And he said, but last week I broke down into tears. I was like just crying about, how things are really difficult for me. And I was feeling very depressed. But I'm feeling fantastic and I'm great and I'm all good. So just lying to yourself. Don't do that. When you do that, you're not going to change anything in your life. You just have to own it and say, hey, I'm feeling miserable. I just need to get help. And the thing is that finding purpose comes later. You just have to, if you're carrying a lot of shit in your bag, you're carrying that. I'm sorry to say that, but that was true for me. If you're carrying that shit with you on, it's going to be a burden. You're just carrying that thinking that, it's going to be okay. It's not going to be okay. So as a coach, I'm here to help you get rid of that bag that you've been carrying. But if you are adamant that you want to carry that, then what's going to happen is that you're going to recreate your past again and again in a different way. So, for example, if you are attracting a relationship, if you haven't dealt with your past stuff, then what you're going to do is that you're going to attract similar kind of man or women with different face. Some people even find people look almost the same. I know that some of my friends in the past, they will break up and then they will find a similar looking girl again. They will just find same kind of hairstyle, the same kind of facial features, and even some of the names sounds very similar as well. So sometimes you go for it. And they recreate it again and again. So it's important that we work with that. Otherwise, we're going to create that again and again and again. So as a coach, what we do is we work with the past without really wallowing in it. There are tools and techniques to just release them and dissolve them and then move forward with life. So the thing is that people think that they have to sit down because of the traditional counseling. I'm also a counselor, so I just let you know that as I think I mentioned that. So we will sit down and talk about the emotions, what happened, and all that. But the thing is that after learning a lot of things, from some of the neuroscientists and a lot of in NLP and things like that, what I realized is that if you, for example, if you take your bicycle, if you ride your bicycle, first time you'll fall down, second time you'll fall down, 100th time you may fall down, or you may start just, it may just start, it may just click and you start riding the bicycle. You start balancing the bicycle and ride. And then after you start riding it for some time, what will happen is that you'll be able to ride it properly. Likewise, if you start thinking about all the miserable things again and again and again, and talk about it all the time, you're going to strengthen that neural pathways, and then it becomes really difficult for you to come out of it. So talking therapy will help you to a certain degree, but I don't think personally, because I am a counselor as well, and also I approach for my personal help, like I approach psychologists and counselors, it never helped me. But with these tools, it is more about reprogramming the whole neural pathways to create the life that you want. So that's, as a coach, that's what I do. So I know you, Neil, you probably do that as well. And Sarah is awesome as well. She has a lot of tools as well like this. So that's what we do. So it's up to each of you who are watching to decide what you want to do, really.
I would also add to that, Haran, that whilst we're wearing a backpack that's heavy, sometimes it's nice just to have little tools in that backpack that we can use to start taking some of the things out.
Yeah.
You might want to do it slowly. You might want to put that whole backpack down. However you do it, it's right for you. But having those tools, that's really important. And I wasn't aware of a lot of tools for a long time. I went into a Great Depression. I was suicidal and I ended up with injuries that still cause me pain today from a suicide attempt. And had I not opened my eyes to a world of new possibilities, had I not been exposed to what legitimately saved my life, in my case, it was art therapy. It was a new way of thinking. It was a new way of doing things. It wasn't sit on the couch and talk about my problems. It was get out my thoughts without having to say anything. It was putting it into symbols, into metaphors, and in a way for me to see it in a new way, in this new perspective, something that I hadn't done before. And it's very similar in that which you were just talking. It's just another tool. So for those of you who are or know someone who has said, I've tried it all, you haven't.
They haven't,
you haven't. And even if you've experienced one particular version, that's still one particular version and one particular time. Go back. Don't be that boiling frog.
That's
it's
right.
It's a painful place to be.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. It may make you feel comfortable, but it's not safe for you. You're going to stay there and die. And don't take life too serious, because none of us are going to make it alive, right? Just go for it and live a happy life.
And back to the toolbox is like using a movie metaphor. Pick a movie and watch it the first time, and then 2 weeks later watch it again, and you will notice new things and things that you didn't see the very first time. So taking a workshop or trying the same technique over again may bring you new results.
Yeah,
absolutely. I was just thinking before, Haran, when you're talking about the bicycle, I remember being so cocky that I took my hands off the handlebars and I was like riding down the street and I'm like, yeah, I've got this. And then I think I went over a pebble. I don't know, I ended up flat on my ass with a bit of blood all over the place. But I got back up. I'm not perfect. I made a mistake. And just like when I was a little kid, I fell over. And I think that's something that as adults, and guys, I'm interested to hear your experience, and those of you who are watching this in live or on replay, have you noticed as an adult that you're maybe not granting yourself that it's okay to make a mistake, because in actual fact, there was an opportunity to learn, hey, when you see a pebble coming, maybe try to avoid it, going over that pebble, it's not looking cool when you're Supermaning it and end up with a bit of an owie. And you can get the owie in a physical way or an emotional way, or both. It's an interesting battle that what do I do next for a lot of people.
I think I approach it in a way. I approach all the, when I'm working with people, I approach it in a holistic way. So I work with their mind, I work with their heart, I work with their spirit as well. So in a holistic way, approach the because you both of you may know, or you actually know that I was in different ashrams and I wanted to become a monk, and I've gone through different journeys, learning a lot of tools on a spiritual levels as well. So when I'm working with people, I'm actually using those tools as well. A lot of spiritual tools. I feel like some of them are really powerful, like 100 times powerful compared to some of the NLP tools that I have. Like, it's more about, some of you may or may not believe in like higher selves or spirits or souls or God or whatever, but it's not about you believing in it, but it's using those as a tool to help ourselves to achieve the goals as well in a different way. So even like last couple of days ago when we were doing the master prac, Tony was talking about the higher self and how it communicates to the conscious minds and things like that. So I use that as a tool as well to work with people. So sometimes you just do that, and then it's like all of a sudden people just start smiling and radiating, and then they'd be like, "Oh, I feel fantastic." And I worked with someone last week. Actually, she's from Canada, Toronto, and she slept well. She said after she had an accident, she was so traumatized and she was so scared, and she dealt with so many different, like she was diagnosed with PTSD and so many different things after that. And she said for the first time she slept like a baby, and since then she's been sleeping like a baby. So hearing all that really makes my heart smile, So this is how these tools can be making these changes in people's lives.
Mm.
Just for clarification for our viewers and our listeners, the master prac that Haran is talking about was the master practitioner for an NLP, and Tony that he referenced is Tony K out of Australia. Just so that we know that if you're interested in NLP, that Tony is an awesome, and don't tell anyone, but we're really trying hard to get Tony on the show, but don't tell anyone. And yeah, and so they have taken this, they're taken. Oh, gooder English, Neil.
Good job.
Yeah. And it's funny, there's a prejudice in Canada. Toronto is the city that most Canadians love to hate, because Toronto is such a huge city that we affectionately, and some people not so affectionately, call it the center of the universe, or the center of Canada's universe. And you're from where? Toronto. It's like we want to automatically turn our backs to them. Because I'm from the western part of Canada, and we believe we're the brothers and the youngest child, and nobody listens to us. Nobody loves us and looks after us. It's like, oh, yeah, it's all of these sort of things. And it's interesting because different countries, different cultures, because I suspect, Perth is feeling nobody loves us way out in the middle of nowhere. We're the last ones to know anything.
Yeah.
Just going to interject and remind you, you're talking to someone who is quite literally in the most isolated city in the world. The closest city away from me is over 3,000 kilometers away. It's not a short distance.
No.
Around the corner for me is a couple-hour drive down the road, and it's pretty phenomenal to go for, hey, you want to go get a pizza, and you end up 3, 4, 5 hours away in a spectacular spot. That's just down the road. So yeah, our perceptions are all different. So whether you're relating from one part of the world, like Neil was relating in Canada, or people in Australia, or people in Japan who are watching, wherever you're from, I'm sure you have some sort of similarity. I'd love to hear where you are tuning in from. Let us know. Please let us know. We want to know. Did I mention that we want to know?
But the bad part is we're almost running out of time. So,
No.
It's the time.
Haran, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Yeah. Well, people can get hold of me on my Instagram. So if you search for my name, Haran.Singhaam, you'll be able to find me. Or on my Facebook profile name is Haran Singhaam as well. So you'll be able to find that, find me on Facebook or Instagram. Yeah.
And I enjoy your content in the happiness mission as well. Like, shout out to that group. It's an amazing group. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. So I have a Facebook group open to everyone who wants a little bit of happiness in their life. It's called The Happiness Mission. I love the name. I just came. It was a blessing that my mastermind helped me out with his name as well. So just joined this Facebook group as well. I know Sarah and Neil, both of them are actually part of that Facebook group as well. And I'm sharing a lot of contents there that's not normally available on my profile or anywhere else. Yeah.
And Sarah.
And Neil, before we go, I just want to have a shout out to you. Sorry for interrupting, but I feel like it's important to remind you what tomorrow's date is, because it's a pretty big one.
It is the 9th anniversary of the release of my first book called A Warrior's Heart, The Awakening. And yeah, I'm really, 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 really excited about it, because I was a closet writer. And for me to all of a sudden wake up one day and go, I want to write a novel, and have my wife go, okay. And that was the okay, because she was not quite, she would trust me that I was going to do this. It took 2 years, but I did it.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
you did. Worldwide bestseller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is this the best way to get a hold of you? Or is this the best way to get a hold of you, Sarah?
Oh, you know what? I'm on both platforms. You can find me either on Instagram at Design the Life You Desire, or find me /Coach Sarah Wade. That is my business profile. Or you can just DM me. More than happy to have a chat with you, and let's try something new and different. Quick shout out to everybody who's already tried my free 7-day Artful Transformations journal. The response that I've got from that is brilliant. And I'm really excited that I haven't told anyone else yet. This is the first time I'm telling the public. I'm going to release a 30-day version really soon that I'm super proud to share with you guys, and at retreats that I'll be facilitating at soon. So yeah, feeling really proud and confident there. So thank you so much, one, for witnessing me sharing that, but also for the feedback. And let me know if you'd like a copy. I'm happy to share that with you. Just drop me a message. Whichever platform you're on, let's get in touch. And I just want to say, Haran, it's been amazing to get to know you just that little bit more. There's things, like, I've known you for a while, but there's things that you've shared that I wasn't aware of. And the way you told your story was a beautiful. I had my hairs on my arms actually up now, chills thinking about what you've gone through and the way you've got out of that boiling pot, and changed not only your life, but you're changing the lives of others. And it's a beautiful thing to do. And I know that Tony, that Neil and myself have got Tony on my mind. That we've been doing that too. And guys, look, whether we are your person or you find someone else, you do you. Find whoever you can build rapport with and change your life. So I want to say thank you for joining us today on Uplift, and I trust this conversation has set your heart on fire, and we'll talk soon. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Yeah, thank you. You all deserve to be happy. So the most important thing is to move forward with your life and reach out for help. And thank you for watching.